Hello there, and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for February 4th, 2012. Well, it's the weekend of Super Bowl 46. That's coming up tomorrow. And also, something I forgot to mention in my last few YouTube vlogs was that it's Black History Month this year. And I've decided, as many of you on Facebook who have seen me know, I have been painting many black entertainment figures in January in the media, and this month I've decided to do famous black historical figures, theme paintings such as it were. I thought it was about time I finally do this, something I've been thinking about for quite some time. So in terms of Black History Month, I have a couple things I wanted to discuss with you. Yeah, it didn't really start out very good because Don Cornelius, the famous host of Soul Train, passed away on the 1st. It was suicide, as you've seen in an earlier vlog of mine. Now, looking at the responses that my vlog has gotten and how many of my Facebook friends have talked about him, that Don Cornelius was such an enormous cultural figure, beyond even what I thought he was, and a lot of people thought he was, that even though he didn't directly influence anything, his indirect influence was absolutely enormous, in the sense that he would have artists like Curtis Mayfield and James Brown come on, and he talked to them about their music, but he'd also ask them how it fit into the broader social spectrum, and you just don't really see that anymore. You haven't seen it for a long time. I haven't seen it for a long time. And if it's there, and if it remains there, it's kind of Don Cornelius. It's the little seed that he planted. Now, a few days ago, something else kind of sad happened. Avery Brooks, the actor who portrayed Captain Benjamin Sisko in the series Star Trek Deep Space Nine, was arrested in Connecticut for DUI, and he was let out on some sort of probation. But I kind of found that sad. Those weren't very fitting things for Black history, I didn't think. And it was kind of sad that the media reported it. I don't know if it was unfair, but they didn't seem like good omens for Black History Month. I think that, there should be some positive achievements. I think Barack Obama running a pretty clean election campaign is one of them. I think there should be some higher achievements emphasized in the media. But Black History Month is something that's interesting me this year, because it's also an election year. And, this year, considering who Barack Obama is, and, there is a racial component in the election. I'm very sorry to say this. Actually, I'm not. There is. It exists. And in order to get over it, I think America has to deal with it. But, that's the same way we have to deal with Black History Month where it is. One of the coldest months of the year here in New England for us to have parades. And there aren't that many black people where I live. I mean, there are some, but they're mostly transients. They have to kind of stick close together. But those are just my musings on Black History Month. And, of course, the Super Bowl tomorrow. My opinion on Super Bowl 46 is that I hear Madonna's going to be doing the halftime show. I've heard some stories about that. That may be interesting. But my opinion on football is this, and somebody stated it so well. I don't know how many of you people out there are familiar with the TV show Northern Exposure. There was a man on that show named Holling Vincourt, played by John Cullum. And on the show, he was at that time married to a very young 20-something young lady named Shelley Tambo, who was from Canada. He was from Canada too, but she was from, Saskatchewan. He was from Quebec. And anyway, that was part of the whole series. But there's this episode of the show they did in 1993 during their 5th season called Birds of a Feather. And one of the themes of the show, I think the B story, is that, this Shelley is pregnant. And her family are sending her all these baby gifts. And one of them is a ball glove. And it's baseball season, it's not football. And Holling is looking at the ball glove, and everybody, including this Shelley, is expecting him to go out and, throw grounders or whatever with his newborn son. They don't even know it's a son yet. But he unburdens himself to the local DJ, played by John Corbett. I think you all remember him if you remember the show. And he's talking about how he was always bored by sports. I'm not going to say I was bored by it, but later on he tells Shelley something, and Shelley in the show was actually a cheerleader for hockey at one point, and she dated a hockey player. She was actually married to a hockey player, but that's another story. And they were talking, and he said all this ball brouhaha, you know. He said, I think that, you know, people are, you know, really put so much weight into this game and aren't seeing it for the petty, inconsequential goings on that it actually is. And she's very disturbed by that. Now, in the end of the show, she gives her a very youthful opinion about it's the guys, and the guys are into sports and all of that, and she actually says it. I know it's just a stupid game, but what else is there? That's her opinion. Well, in the end, there's a betting pool going on over this baseball, and Holling is a bartender, and everybody's talking about it, and he wins the pool. And they criticize him for not liking the game because that DJ ratted him out. But in the end, he decided to give up that money because they're insulting him over what happened. And he said, you know, you think a man's a man because he wears team colors? You know, will it harm you if you watch my programs on TV, get yourself a little education, you know, something to that effect? There's a whole world of information out there. Why would you want to judge a man over how he feels about a sport? And that is the feeling that I have had. Now, I find basketball and baseball players actually quite interesting as cultural figures, even boxers. You know, Dr. J, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, all these people. They're interesting characters as people. But they also emphasize something that bothers me about the game. There's so much ultra-celebrity involvement in what essentially amounts up to a very non-adult kind of game. It embodies the American spirit, especially football. Most people just gather around the TV just to, you know, snack on this, and I can get snacks on my own anyway. And I know this opinion is controversial, and might result in a lot of lack of viewership, which I've had a problem with on YouTube anyway, and some perhaps negative comments in the future. But being an artist, and being a photographer, I am very serious. And, you know, I know we all limit ourselves in our own way. But I have found what I have done severely limited by my area's particular emphasis on athletics over the years. Now, there was a time in my life where I really resented anyone who played it, who taught it, who coached it. Football especially, I had a big problem with because I found it like military school. It was like training people to be essentially bullies. And George Carlin on the first episode of Saturday Night Live made that point. You know, baseball is more progressive in a lot of ways, and football tends to be more about bullying. That's what I believe. And that's what I don't believe that. That's how I perceive it. And that's how it seems to me. And as being a victim of bullies in my past, most of whom were actually champion football players in the school I went to, it stirs up a lot of ambivalent feelings. So I tend to ignore Super Bowl. I'm interested in the creative aspects of it, especially the halftime show, whether it's Madonna or not. That interests me. But the game itself, it seems to be also very commercial. There's a lot of commercial sponsorship here, you know, and a lot of people prattling on about how they feel about the game, sport announcers. It does seem very inconsequential and maybe dangerous to society to me. Now, I don't think it should be banned. I don't believe in that kind of censorship. And anybody who's interested in sports has all the right to be interested, and I support them. But to use it against other people, like they said in Northern Exposure, that just isn't right. All in all, Black History Month, both the positive and the negative aspects of it this particular year, interest me a lot more than the Super Bowl. So that's just my 2 cents for the day. Enjoy Black History Month, or the Super Bowl, or both. Just enjoy yourself. See you next time.